A 16-year-old boy with no pilot training sat in the cockpit of a passenger plane 30,000 feet in the air, watching both pilots collapse unconscious in front of him. He had exactly 12 minutes to figure out how to land a machine he had never touched before, or everyone on board would die. What happened next was not luck. It was not a miracle. It was pure terror, instinct, and the kind of courage that only comes when you have no other choice. Before we dive in, what time are you listening? Where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me. And please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Tyler Jackson was sitting in seat 14A, staring out the window at clouds that looked like cotton balls. He was on his way to visit his grandmother in Seattle, flying alone for the first time in his life. His mother had been nervous about letting him go by himself, but Tyler convinced her he was responsible enough. He was 16, tall for his age, with messy blonde hair and a face full of freckles. He loved airplanes, always had. As a kid, he built model planes and hung them from his bedroom ceiling. He spent hours watching aviation videos online, learning about cockpit instruments, flight patterns, and emergency procedures. His friends thought he was weird for being so obsessed, but Tyler did not care. He dreamed of being a pilot one day. He just never thought that dream would be tested today. The flight had been smooth so far. Tyler listened to music on his headphones, occasionally glancing at the flight attendants moving up and down the aisle. The plane was about half full, maybe 60 passengers. Families with kids, business travelers, an elderly couple holding hands across the aisle. Normal people on a normal flight. Tyler leaned back in his seat and closed his eyes, feeling the gentle hum of the engines beneath him. He loved that sound. It made him feel safe. But then something changed. Tyler felt the plane lurch slightly to the left. He opened his eyes and looked around. A few passengers glanced up from their phones, mildly concerned but not alarmed. The seatbelt sign was still off. Everything seemed fine. But Tyler's instincts told him otherwise. He unbuckled his seatbelt and stood up, ignoring the confused looks from nearby passengers. Tyler walked toward the front of the plane, past rows of seats, past flight attendants preparing snack carts. He did not know why he was walking. He just knew he had to. When he reached the cockpit door, he stopped. It was closed, locked from the inside, like always. But then he heard something that made his heart stop. A thud, then another, like something heavy falling. Tyler knocked on the door. No response. He knocked harder. Still nothing. One of the flight attendants, a woman named Lisa with short red hair and a kind face, approached him and asked if everything was okay. Tyler told her something was wrong in the cockpit. Lisa smiled politely and said the pilots were probably just busy, that he should return to his seat. But Tyler insisted. He told her to check on them. Please, just check. Lisa sighed and pulled out her key card. She unlocked the cockpit door and pushed it open. What Tyler saw next would haunt him forever. Both pilots were slumped over in their seats, unconscious. The captain's head was tilted back, his mouth open. The co-pilot was face down on the control panel. The plane was still flying, still on autopilot, but the instruments were flashing red warnings. Lisa screamed. Passengers nearby stood up, trying to see what was happening. Panic rippled through the cabin like a wave. Tyler pushed past Lisa and stepped into the cockpit. His hands were shaking. His mind was racing. He had watched hundreds of videos about planes, but he had never actually flown one, never touched real controls. never sat in a real cockpit, but he was the only one who had any idea what these instruments meant. Tyler grabbed the captain's shoulder and shook him. No response. He checked for a pulse. Weak, but there. The co-pilot was the same. Both men were breathing, but completely unresponsive. Tyler looked at the control panel. Altitude stable. Speed stable. Autopilot engaged. The plane was flying itself for now, but Tyler knew autopilot could not land a plane. Not safely. Someone had to take manual control. Someone had to bring this plane down. Lisa was behind him, crying, asking what they should do. Tyler told her to get everyone away from the cockpit and stay calm. Do not let the passengers panic. Then he sat down in the captain's seat. Tyler's heart was pounding so hard he thought it might explode. He looked at the screens in front of him. Dozens of buttons, switches, dials, and digital displays. He recognized some of them from his videos. Altimeter, airspeed indicator, heading throttle, but knowing what they were called, and knowing how to use them were two completely different things. Tyler took a deep breath and forced himself to focus. He grabbed the radio headset and put it on. He pressed the button he thought was for communication and spoke into the microphone. His voice cracked. He said this was Flight 723, requesting immediate assistance. Pilots unconscious. Repeat, both pilots unconscious. He waited. Silence. He tried again. This time, a voice crackled through the headset. Air traffic control. They asked him to identify himself. Tyler said he was a passenger, 16 years old, no pilot license, but he knew planes. He needed help landing this aircraft. There was a pause. Then the controller, a man with a calm, steady voice, told Tyler to stay on the line. They were getting an instructor pilot to talk him through it. Tyler looked out the windshield at the endless sky. They were still over mountains, far from any airport. He glanced at the fuel gauge. 3 hours of fuel left. Maybe less. The instructor pilot came on the line. His name was Captain Morrison, and he sounded confident, like he had done this 1,000 times. He told Tyler the first thing he needed to do was understand where they were and where they needed to go. Tyler read the coordinates from the navigation screen. Captain Morrison confirmed they were 70 miles from the nearest airport, a small regional airstrip that could handle a plane this size. He told Tyler they were going to disengage autopilot and turn the plane toward that airport. But first, Tyler needed to get familiar with the controls. Captain Morrison walked Tyler through each instrument. The yoke in front of him controlled pitch and roll. Push forward to descend, pull back to climb, turn left or right to bank the plane. The throttle controlled speed. The rudder pedals controlled direction on the ground. Tyler repeated everything back, his voice shaking. He felt like he was going to throw up. Captain Morrison told him to take a deep breath. He said Tyler could do this. He had to do this. There was no other option. Tyler nodded, even though no one could see him. He reached out and gripped the yoke. It felt cold and heavy in his hands. Captain Morrison told him to disengage autopilot. Tyler found the button and pressed it. Immediately, the plane lurched. Tyler gasped and pulled back on the yoke instinctively. The nose pitched up sharply. Passengers screamed. Captain Morrison's voice cut through the chaos. Ease off, gentle movements. Tyler relaxed his grip and the plane leveled out. His hands were sweating. His whole body was trembling. Captain Morrison told Tyler he did good. Now they needed to turn the plane toward the airport. Tyler adjusted the heading, turning the yoke slowly to the right. The plane banked smoothly. He was doing it. He was actually flying. But the hard part was still ahead. Landing. Captain Morrison explained the process. Reduce speed. Lower altitude gradually. Deploy flaps and landing gear at the right time. Line up with the runway. Touch down gently. It sounded simple. It was anything but. Tyler asked how many people had successfully landed a plane with no training. Captain Morrison did not answer. That told Tyler everything he needed to know. This was a 1-in-a-million shot. But it was the only shot they had. The minutes crawled by. Tyler followed every instruction Captain Morrison gave him. Reduce throttle. Watch your airspeed. Do not go below 150 knots. Descend at 500 feet per minute. Tyler's eyes darted between the instruments and the windshield. The mountains below were getting closer. He could see forests, rivers, tiny houses. The world looked so fragile from up here, so small. He thought about the 60 people behind him, families, kids, people who trusted that the pilots would get them home safely. Now their lives were in the hands of a 16-year-old kid who had never even driven a car without supervision. Tyler felt the weight of that responsibility crushing him, but he could not break. Not now. The airport came into view. A small strip of pavement surrounded by trees. It looked impossibly narrow. Captain Morrison told Tyler to line up with the runway. Tyler adjusted the heading, but the plane drifted too far left. He overcorrected and swung too far right. Sweat poured down his face. Captain Morrison's voice remained calm. Small adjustments, easy. You were doing fine. Tyler steadied the plane and lined it up again. Better. The runway was straight ahead now, growing larger in the windshield. Captain Morrison told Tyler to deploy the flaps. Tyler found the lever and pulled it. The plane slowed and the nose dipped slightly. Good. Now the landing gear. Tyler flipped the switch and heard a mechanical worry sound as the wheels extended beneath them. The plane shuddered. Tyler's heart was racing. They were 2 miles from the runway. 1 mile. Captain Morrison told Tyler to keep his speed steady. 140 knots. Watch the angle. Do not come in too steep. Tyler's hands were locked on the yoke. His entire body was rigid. The runway filled his vision. He could see the white lines painted on the pavement. He could see emergency vehicles lining the sides, waiting for them. 1/2 mile. Captain Morrison told Tyler to start his flare. Pull back gently on the yoke. Reduce throttle. Tyler did as he was told. The nose lifted. The plane seemed to float for a moment. Then the wheels hit the pavement, hard. The plane bounced. Tyler gasped and pushed the throttle forward instinctively. Captain Morrison shouted no. Pull back. Cut the throttle. Tyler yanked the throttle back, and the plane slammed down again. This time it stayed down. The wheels screeched against the runway. The plane was going too fast. Tyler remembered the brakes. He pressed the pedals and felt the plane slow. But they were still going fast. Too fast. The end of the runway was approaching. Tyler pressed harder on the brakes. The plane shuddered and slowed. Slower, slower. They rolled to a stop 50 feet from the end of the runway. Tyler sat there, frozen, staring straight ahead. He could not believe it. They were on the ground. They were alive. Behind him, passengers erupted into cheers and sobs. Lisa burst into the cockpit and hugged him, crying. Captain Morrison's voice came through the headset. "Kid, you just did the impossible." Tyler could not speak. He just sat there, shaking, tears streaming down his face. Emergency crews swarmed the plane. Paramedics rushed in and carried the pilots out on stretchers. They had suffered simultaneous medical emergencies, later determined to be severe food poisoning from contaminated meals they ate before the flight. Both pilots survived and recovered fully. Tyler was taken to a hospital for observation, though he was physically fine. Mentally, emotionally, he was a wreck. The weight of what he had just done hit him all at once. He replayed every moment in his mind, every mistake, every terrifying second. But he also thought about the 60 people who walked off that plane and hugged their families. News of what Tyler did spread like wildfire. Journalists called him a hero. Aviation experts analyzed the landing and called it a miracle. The airline offered him free flights for life and a scholarship to any flight school he wanted. Captain Morrison visited him in the hospital and shook his hand. He told Tyler he had never seen anything like it in 40 years of flying. Tyler was invited to speak at aviation conferences, schools, and events, but he did not feel like a hero. He felt like a scared kid who got lucky. Except it was not luck. It was hours spent watching videos. It was a love of flying that ran so deep he could not ignore it. It was a refusal to give up when every instinct told him to panic. Months later, Tyler enrolled in flight school. He studied harder than anyone else. He flew every chance he got. And eventually, he earned his pilot's license. Years after that, he became a commercial airline pilot, just like he always dreamed. Every time he sat in a cockpit, he remembered that day. The fear, the responsibility, the lives depending on him. And every time he landed a plane safely, he felt grateful, not just for his skill, but for the moment that taught him what he was capable of. Tyler was just a high school kid who loved airplanes. But that day, when it mattered most, he became a pilot. Not because he had training or experience, but because he had courage. Because he refused to let fear win. Because he understood that sometimes the only person who can save you is yourself. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.